Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep into the world of adjunct professors today. Now, you might be thinking about this path yourself, or maybe you're just curious about what it's really like. Well, we've got some great insights for you based on the article, How to Become an Adjunct Professor.
It's pretty interesting. We're seeing this major shift in higher ed. Colleges are moving away from tenured faculty more and more and relying instead on adjuncts.
That is really interesting. The article doesn't really talk about why that is, just that it is happening.
Well, you've got to think about the financial pressure on these schools. I mean, hiring adjuncts is often much more appealing budget-wise for these institutions.
Right, because they're paid per course.
Yeah,
No benefits.
yeah, no full salary.
It's almost like the gig economy.
Yeah, but for academia.
Exactly. And then there's also the growing specialization in academia. So a college might need an expert in a very niche subject.
Right, and an adjunct is a perfect fit for something like that.
Makes sense. Now, the article uses some terms that seem interchangeable. Adjunct professor, adjunct lecturer, adjunct instructor.
Yeah, it can be a little confusing.
Are they all the same?
Well, adjunct professor is the most common one you'll see, but lecturer sometimes implies a focus on lecturing, and instructor might suggest a more hands-on approach.
Okay. But the key is they're all non-tenured faculty.
Yeah, working on a limited contract, that's the common thread. Now, teaching is obviously the big focus, right? But the article points out that being an adjunct involves a whole lot more than just teaching.
Yeah. It's more than just lecturing and then grading papers.
Oh, absolutely.
What kind of things are we talking about?
Well, think about all the prep that goes into a course. Developing those lesson plans, grading, giving feedback, holding those office hours.
Yeah, and all of that falls on the adjunct.
Right. And then a lot of times they're juggling multiple courses at different schools.
So you're running around maybe even different schools with different policies and different students.
Totally. And it can get pretty demanding.
And that brings us to the money.
Yes. The big question.
So the article mentions a national average salary of $61.57 an hour.
Okay.
But something tells me it's not really that simple.
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, that hourly rate doesn't really tell the whole story. Remember, most adjuncts get paid per course or credit hour, not actually by the hour.
Oh, okay.
So their actual income really depends on a bunch of things. The school, the subject they're teaching, how many students they have, even the length of the semester plays a role.
So an adjunct with a doctorate, teaching at like a big university is going to earn a lot more than someone with a master's at a community college.
Yeah, most likely.
So there are a lot of things to consider when it comes to pay. What do
Yeah.
people really need to be thinking about if they're considering this?
Well, don't forget about all that unpaid time that goes into things like planning your lessons and grading. And of course, adjuncts usually don't have the same job security or benefits as tenured faculty.
Right. It's a very different world.
Yeah.
Now, the article mentions that the Bureau of Labor Statistics projects 8% job growth for post-secondary teachers from 2023 to 2033. And that's actually higher than average for other jobs. So why do you think that is?
Well, you've got certain disciplines, healthcare and technology, for instance. They're probably driving a lot of that growth. They need specialized instruction. And with the cost of four-year degrees going up, more and more people are turning to community colleges.
And community colleges use a lot of adjuncts.
Exactly.
So even with all the difficulties, the demand is there.
Definitely.
Now, it's not just about the money. The article talks about some perks that you might not expect.
Like?
Attending conferences, interacting with tenured faculty, learning from visiting scholars. These are all things that come with a job sometimes.
Right.
So how do you see those as valuable if you don't have a tenure track position?
Well, it's all about staying immersed in that intellectual world. You get to be exposed to the latest research, talk to leading experts, and make some really valuable connections.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
It's great for professional development, no matter your goals.
So being an adjunct could actually be a good way to stay connected to your field, to keep learning.
Definitely. And to grow your network. Now, if we look at how to actually become an adjunct, the article breaks it down into 5 steps. The first one is pretty straightforward. Get your undergraduate degree.
So what should aspiring adjuncts focus on during those 4 years?
Okay, that's a great place to start for part 2. So getting your undergrad degree might seem obvious, but your GPA is going to be really important.
Right, especially if you want to go to grad school.
Yeah, which is usually a requirement for most adjunct jobs.
Okay. The article also says connecting with your professors is important.
Yeah, early on.
Early on.
Yeah.
Why is that so important?
Well, building those relationships, I mean, they can turn into incredible mentors, giving you insights into the academic world and writing those recommendation letters.
Oh, yeah, for grad school or even jobs.
Right.
So the next step the article talks about is choosing your field.
Ah, yes.
Any tips for how to do that?
It's all about finding that balance
Between
what you love and what makes sense, practically.
Yeah, practicality.
Think about the subjects that just light you up,
Right.
and where you see yourself contributing. But then also, you want to be smart about the job market.
Okay.
Are there areas that are really in demand within that field?
So find that sweet spot.
Yeah,
Passion meets reality.
precisely.
Now, step 3, grad school.
Oh, grad school
It's a big commitment.
is.
The good, the bad, the everything in between.
It's demanding, no doubt about it. And it can be tough financially.
Yeah.
And you need a lot of self-discipline. But it can be so rewarding.
Okay, so you really delve deep into your field.
You do research, you really hone those critical thinking skills.
You mentioned assistantships. What are those all about?
A lot of grad programs will offer these assistantships where you get financial support for working.
Okay.
And teaching assistantships are amazing if you want to be an adjunct because you're getting that real-world classroom experience.
And that's going to help your application later.
Yeah.
It's a win-win, getting some financial help, and you're getting the hands-on experience.
Exactly. So let's talk about the next step. Step 4 is gathering your application materials.
So what do people need to have?
Okay, first, you want a really strong teaching statement,
Teaching statement.
which is basically outlining your approach to teaching, your beliefs about education, and how you make a positive learning environment.
And the article mentioned it's good to have examples of successful classroom approaches.
Right.
But what if you haven't had a ton of experience yet?
That's okay. You can talk about the strategies that you're interested in.
Right?
You can mention pedagogical theories you like. It's about showing your potential.
Got it. So what else is important?
You'll want a really good diversity statement,
Okay.
showing that you understand diversity and inclusion,
Right.
and how you foster an equitable learning environment for all students.
The article mentions that it's okay to include personal experiences or challenges that you've faced as part of an underrepresented group.
Yeah.
But is that really necessary to share those personal things?
It can be powerful because it shows that you have lived experience and that you are committed to an inclusive classroom.
Right. So it's really about connecting with students from all different backgrounds.
Exactly. And then you'll also need a CV,
A CV. Okay.
a curriculum vitae.
So that's like a really detailed resume.
Yeah, for the academic world, so it includes all your academic background, research,
Yeah.
any publication.
And presentations, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then the cover letter is also super
Or
important.
a cover letter, right.
Yeah.
Any tips for writing one specifically for an adjunct position?
Well, this is where tailoring it to the specific school and the position is so crucial. Do your research.
Right.
Look into the school's mission statement.
Their values, their programs.
Yeah. Highlight how your skills and experience really match up with their needs and their goals.
So you're not just sending out a generic cover letter
No. You want to show that you're genuinely interested.
in that particular place.
Right. Because hiring committees, they want people who are qualified, but also passionate about the school.
Makes sense. And don't forget, letters of recommendation.
Ah, yes, the letters.
Yeah.
Make sure you reach out to people who can really speak to your abilities and your potential as a teacher.
Okay, solid advice. And finally, step 5, applying.
Right.
Any insights on how to navigate that job market? Because it can be a little crazy.
It can be pretty competitive. You're probably going to be applying to a bunch of different places,
Okay.
especially if you're hoping for a full-time workload. And the article mentions the possibility of working at multiple places and something called the adjunct pool.
So can you break those down?
Sure. So a lot of adjuncts teach at different colleges or universities
Just to get enough hours.
to get more hours and to, increase their income.
Right.
But it does mean juggling different schedules, different requirements, different
Right.
So it's a lot.
Yeah, but it gives you flexibility.
It does. And then the adjunct pool, that's basically a pool of qualified candidates that departments can pull from when they need someone.
Oh, I see.
So even if there aren't any openings at that moment, it's good to submit your application so that your name is on the list.
So kind of like a waiting list.
Yeah, because sometimes they have last-minute openings.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. We've covered a ton of ground here.
Yeah.
From the rise of the adjunct to how to actually apply.
Yeah.
Clearly, being an adjunct professor has a lot of facets.
It does.
Challenges and rewards. Yeah, it is a lot. But even if you don't end up going the adjunct route, there are still some good things to take away from all this.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
skills you learn.
All those skills are valuable no matter what you end up doing.
Now, before we finish up, we should probably acknowledge that this path isn't for everyone.
No, it's not.
It's demanding. You're often juggling a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And the pay, it could be a little unpredictable.
It can be.
So what are the big questions that someone thinking about this should ask themselves?
That's a great question. I always tell people to really think about their motivations. Why do you want to teach? What are your goals?
Yeah, why are you doing this?
Are you looking for that intellectual stimulation, or are you just really passionate about sharing your knowledge?
Or maybe you're hoping to get some experience before you try to get a tenure-track job.
Right, exactly.
So you've got to be real about the financial side of things.
Absolutely.
Can you make it work on an adjunct salary?
And if you have to teach at multiple places,
You've got to think about all that.
yeah, and are you comfortable with, maybe not having a steady income?
And the time commitment.
Right, because a lot of these classes are in the evenings or on weekends.
And the workload can be pretty heavy.
Oh, especially when you're grading.
So can you actually put in the time?
Yeah, can you dedicate the time and the energy, even if it means, changing some other things in your life?
So it's all about finding that balance
Yeah, finding a balance.
between teaching and your personal life and your finances.
It all has to work together.
You've got to make a choice that fits,
A choice that fits with what's important to you.
your values and your goals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even if after all this, you decide it's not the right fit, it's still been a really valuable process.
Just thinking it all through.
Yeah.
So this deep dive has been really insightful. We've learned a lot about what it means to be an adjunct professor.
It's a challenging path.
But there are definitely rewards too,
For the right person.
especially if you're passionate about teaching.
And scholarship, yeah.
Now, if this conversation has made you want to explore higher education jobs, including adjunct positions, you should definitely check out academicjobs.com.
It's a great resource.
A great place to start your search.
It really is. And I'll leave everyone with this final thought. Keep learning, keep exploring. That's what knowledge is all about.
It's a lifelong journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,